Okay, I'm going to start. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. This is on demand, so if you've got any colleagues that want to register for it, they can watch that at a later point. I'd also like to point out that we've got a poll running at the top of the screen. So if you want to join in and join the poll, we'll be giving out the results and sending those out also afterwards, together with a copy of the presentation. So hi, I'm Kate from Index Property Information, and I'm really delighted to be here today with Andy Butler, who's Business Development Manager at Insight Case Management. And we're going to talk about a little bit about compliance. We're going to talk about, very topical at the moment, and then kind of integration, you know, end-to-end onboarding. All of these are kind of buzzwords in the industry at the moment, and perhaps with the market and conveyancing softening a little bit in some more areas than others. But I think, you know, we've been suddenly inundated, Andy and I, between us, with regards to requests for what does that mean, what can you offer us, and how can you help us? Now we've got a bit of headspace, perhaps, going into the new year of looking at improving systems. And it's all about saving time, right? Increasing productivity and not doing those manual labour, kind of boring processes, monotonous processes over and over again. So for those of it that you don't know, I just wanted to just go through. So who Index are? So we are a dynamic provider of conveyancing solutions. Also, we've kind of melted into other areas of law as well, and now we're probate, matrimonial, and lots of other departments, because we now offer service, technology and compliance. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about compliance. Obviously a hot topic with the Law Society doing the CQS audit starting on May the 1st. And I'm just going to myth bust a few things and perhaps offer you some help and guidance with regards to that. So what happened through COVID? Obviously the market completely ramped up. People were hybrid working. Some people have case management, some don't. Some didn't use case management when they were hybrid working at home. So, you know, and everything in between. So really, how does that affect things? Well, it affects things from a risk standpoint. It also affects things from a PI standpoint. And the PI, you know, insurers, the market got smaller. Regulatory changes were made, and I'm going to run through a little bit of that. And actually, what does that look like and how does that affect you? So reasons for PI increases were conveyancing risk obviously elevated, and you know the workload has been momentous in the last 2 years through COVID with the market and the stamp duty relief. And cybersecurity, we really saw a spike in cybersecurity issues. So fewer insurers got into the market, so a lot left the conveyancing market for PI, and actually there was higher claims because of everything that I've just said. So how can you present yourself as a firm or even a conveyancer as lower risk? So there's lots and lots of tools, and there's lots more tools that have kind of like been born out of COVID. So robust AML policy and procedure is really important, and implementing cybersecurity measures. So Index are a trusted partner of the Law Society, and many of you may have seen me and my colleagues speak at different law and guidance events around CQS. And essentially, the Law Society like the fact that Index offers it at one place. We integrate with case management providers like Insight, and actually as a law firm, conveyancing firm, then it's all in a one-stop shop kind of thing. So CQS is changing. So we saw on May the 1st that actually law firms are, the Law Society is auditing law firms and going out and auditing those. So prior to COVID, very, very few, less than 1% of companies have been audited through CQS. A little bit different to Lexshore, where you're audited every year. So the CQS accreditation had not really been audited, and they changed that, and they said 1 in 10 companies over a period of time. Through COVID, and again, the heightened risk that is out there through the demand in the market, that's changed. They're now looking at 1 in 3 companies in the next 18 months being audited. You've got compliance that has been changing from HMLR with regards to safe harbour guidelines, and we can explain that to you separately if you're interested. Again, I think this part of that is on the poll. And then independent audits. And what does that look like? Well, you can take control of that situation. So those concerns linked back to PI, because if you're audited, you get a RAG report. It's a red, amber, green report. And that report has to be reported to your PI. So bearing in mind that no company at the moment has actually passed full compliance, that's the green. No company since May has passed full compliance. Then obviously there's more reason to perhaps take advantage of a free CQS audit. with regards to that and implementing your risk across the company. So there's 3,500 firms that are accredited, so they are going to be going through that 3-year cycle. So very, very important of what an audit consists of. It's about a day and a half if it was a real audit. It includes freehold, leasehold, sale and purchase of property, and staff interviews for everybody that's involved in the transaction, from receptionist if they're taking ID all the way through to senior partners. Really important line there, if you take one thing away from today, is say as you do as you say, and provide evidence. That is what the lead assessors are doing. So make sure you've got in your file evidence of checking whatever that CQS and the core practice management framework links into. So you can demonstrate full compliance. You've got a minor breach, which is 21 days to rectify that before losing CQS accreditation, or a major breach is 3 months. So that is your starting from the bottom, your red, amber, green with regards to that. Anyone can request those audit results, including lenders. As I said, your PI company, when you're renewing, they will ask for a copy of that. Obviously, if you haven't demonstrated full compliance, that's something that they may be looking at and raising your amount that you're paying for that. We've had some real success rates with clients using very few simple products that have changed that or integrating with case management. So essentially it's all in one place and workflows have been sorted and worked out within that process. So by this time, a lot of people have got their head in their hands going, I'm not sure I would with regards to that. But actually there's lots that can be done and lots that we can talk to you about around what this looks like with regards to what does a mock audit look like. So there's 40 core practice management standards, and actually we look at all of those. We work with the lead assessor and we go through that and work with what that looks like with regards to everything with regards to that. We also continue ongoing support, including advising firms of any regulatory changes or policy that can help be written with regards to that. That's going to provide you with a surety. So it's kind of like ripping the plaster off and going, right, we're going to jump in and do a mock audit and see actually where our weaknesses are, if you've got any. And actually then it's much easier to fix that rather than worrying perhaps about everything. You might have certain elements completely nailed, but actually there's a weakness in some element of that. And Andy will talk about that and the smoothness of that flow. I'm going to go over AML because the Law Society last March talked about safe harbour guidelines. And what does that mean? Again, I'm going to reflect you to the poll because we can follow up and give you more information on that. And I've spoken a lot about safe harbour, but in previous webinars. But basically, it's a digital ID check, and it's like a passport control essentially. That is a selfie, and when you go through passport control and you put your passport on the reader, it's actually taking a picture of you to say that person that's standing there at that counter is actually the person that is the chip and pin that's in your passport, and it's linking that together. It's been around for years in the estate agency world, and it's now come into conveyancing. That is the safe harbour guideline. So we're going to talk about that further. A really big part of it as well is kind of looking at cybersecurity accreditations and looking at what does that look like. So the Law Society say that you should be cyber essential. So what does that look like? It's a very simple process of what that looks like, in that I've actually got Cyber Essentials Plus accreditation, and basically you hire a company, you pay them some money, and they try and come into your systems to break and check how secure they are. So Index has the Cyber Essentials Plus, one to reassure conveyancers that's the level of security we've got, meeting GDPR standards as well with some of the information that we handle. But also it's a minimum requirement of Cyber Essentials. I have seen 3 clients last week, and we do a quick analysis, and 3 of their websites, 3 companies' websites were not secure. What does that mean? That just makes it an easier hack for people to get into your systems. So there's lots and lots of different elements that we can talk about, making sure you're secure for your systems, but also your website as well. So again, we can help with elements of that and advise on policy and what that looks like as well. So there's so much to talk about with regards to the CQS and the audit, but actually this is just a taster, and it's about kind of that unified look of bringing in lots of different suppliers, or actually narrowing that down and using a couple of suppliers that can provide you all of your compliance offering, your integration, your workflows, and actually how that all sits together. When PI is being renewed, they're actually asking these kinds of questions. How many suppliers have you got? Where are you sourcing your information from? We're seeing much more being delved into, and clients are telling us that. So something like changing your AML provider, and perhaps something like checking on your Part 2A inquiries, or actually we've had a client that was paying over £60,000 on their PI insurance, and they got 8% reduced off it by using those two products alone. Those two products are a disbursement that you can pass on to clients. So these are all things that there's lots out there. Some people know some of them, some people don't know any of them, and we're here to kind of support and help. And we can do that as follow-up pieces afterwards. And based off the poll, that's why we've kind of put those questions together. So I'm going to hand over to Andy in a little bit, but I'm just going to finish by kind of doing the introduction into what Insight Legal do. They cover all areas of law, and that's really important for any case management provider that you're seeking. That it's not just, obviously we've got conveyancers on the call today, but most law firms have multi-practice, so you can choose those elements. So that integration of whether you think that's important or not, it's just about time saving. It's about bringing in files, and we're going to Andy's going to take you through a little bit of a demonstration with Index of how that would look for those clients that already use Index, of what that might look like. So that's me. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to pass over to Andy now. And please type any questions as well. We're going to do a Q&A at the end, and we can get through to you as well with that. So I'm just going to stop screen sharing and introduce Andy. So I always try and be as slick as possible here, but it's never quite as slick as I think. So that's over great. To you, Andy.
That's great. Thank you, Kate. Kate, would you mind just, if you, bit technical difficulty, if you click on my name and then make me the host, I'll be able to share again.
There you go. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. Right, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for joining. Kate, thank you for the introduction. Really appreciate that. So I'm just sharing my screen now. And if I play that from the beginning, everyone should be able to see this. So a couple of things we're going to go through today. So first slide, from Insight, there's myself. I'm going to be presenting to you today. I've got Nathan, who's another biz dev manager at Insight. He's going to be looking after the Q&A. So just while I'm speaking, if you're getting answers, it's because Nathan is providing those to you. Okay. So our agenda today, very, very straightforward. We're going to be going through us, just to sort of go off the back of what Kate just explained, what we do and who we provide services for. Why use integrated searches? A lot of people have said on the initial question, how would you find using integrated searches? Some people have said, somewhat. Some people have said very. Some people have said it wouldn't be useful at all. It's my job to present the absolute benefits and why you should use integrated searches, because there's so many merits to it. As Kate mentioned, I'm going to present our integration. I'll show you how it works, how it will live within the single environment, and we'll then go over some questions. Okay. So just talking about Insight. So Insight Legal, we are a legal services provider. We provide case management, legal accounts, and practice management software to solicitors. We deal with sole practitioners. We have lots of sort of multi-branch, multi-office, significant firms. We're talking, sort of 200 users, over 1,100 firms across the UK and Republic of Ireland. They trust us to be their software supplier, and we are also a member of the, or strategic partner, should I say, of the Law Society of England and Wales. So I'm just talking about integrated, which is what Index and Insight are. Integrated versus standalone searches. So there's lots of benefits to this. Just got 4 here, which really sort of pin it down. So first of all, you've got time saving and efficiency, right? With us, there's instant data sharing and just faster operation. I'll show you that in 2 minutes. You've got centralized information in a unified database. I don't have, an application here and an application here where I have to, if I've got a question on this database, I've got to refer to this one to get the answer. It's all in one place, which is, it seems silly, but it's a huge part of any kind of efficiency. With the integration, Again, kind of off the back of time saving, it's a big reduction of manual inputs and clicks. When you record the address or the title within Insight, that pulls over to Index. That information hasn't got to be keyed in again and again and again when you want to find that record. You'll open the record from Insight, it'll present it within Index. The final part here, it is workflow compatible, and that is going to absolutely help you better monitor and adhere to compliance standards, which was what Kate mentioned earlier. So what I'll do now, I'm just going to share my Insight. And I appreciate there's a lot of people on this list that I have spoken to before, but there's even more that I haven't. So this will be a whistle-stop 5-minute presentation of Insight. If you wanted to see it, of course, we'll follow up. So where we are now, I'm presenting my Insight. We're within a client's matter. And this is Mr. Hookins. We're talking about his residential purchase. Now, within our workflow, so one thing that we've done, I've just saved you guys watching me type it in. I've recorded a property address, right? I've entered that detail. I'm going to save the detail. What I can now move on to is creating an order of property searches or linking it to an existing order. Just for the sake of today, we're going to go right from the top and I'm going to create an order just by hitting start quote. This will then open up on my other screen, the Index website. And you can see here, so it's found the matters reference, the property address, and everything else has been pulled through. The title has been pulled through. From here, I just confirm the mapping. So what I'm going to do, so this is the mapping on the right, just going to create that mapping. It'll present it to me, and I'm just going to confirm this. You can change the boundary if you need to. So if I hit confirm mapping, this will then pull me through to the product page where I can add any things I need to. Kate is an Index PI, absolutely experts on this, but from what I understand, this can be manipulated. So certain products don't show, commercial won't show for residential and that sort of stuff. All you do here, simply add products to your order. And on the right, you'll see those stack up. You'll see your total. At this point now, if I just save this as a quote, right, that's save that as a quote. I can get back to it through Index, but I'm going to show you how you can get back to it through Insight. So just minimizing the web page, back within my case management program. I've got all of my matter documentation here, and this will go for things like Word documents, memorandum of sales, invoices, ID, copies will live here. But what we're talking about today is the quote, the search. If my colleague has done this and they're on holiday and I just want to catch up where they are, or any other instance, I double click on the search here. It will simply bring me back to the search. I can add other products to this. I can continue with it. When I'm ready to, I can order the searches, which will all again just live within the single environment that is Insight. It will just be housed here forever. If you ever need to review it, check it, if an auditor needs to see that it's been done, it will live within your central program. And that's the service, that's the integration that we have with Index. Okay. Everyone, just I guess the final part, and these questions aren't just for Insight, they're for everyone, they're for Index too. Now is the time to have any questions, any queries, anything you want to raise with Kate and I.
I think I'll just add onto that, Andy. So this is not a demonstration of the Index system, but essentially you've got any search alerts that are popping up that are relevant to that postcode. So you can see if it's in a mining area or a flood or any of those things. We can develop that page. So we work with many companies that have different fee earners, might have an interest in different products. So it's completely manipulated. It is not an order system that is one size fits all. It is definitely not one size fits all. Every law firm is slightly different in the products they order or the type of work that they do. So we can build as many products into search packs. So if 90% of, particularly residential conveyancing is going to be that pack, it's just one click, literally, because it pulls in the information from Insight. It literally is one-click ordering. As you saw, the map is free of charge. There's not a charge for that through our system, and that's linking directly into land registry. And essentially, you can just pick the pack, the search alert that Andy picked at the top with search alerts, because that property was showing energy and infrastructure, and you can pop those into the shopping basket and press confirm with the terms and conditions and actually place that order. So what Andy showed you, if you just press that box that said terms and conditions and place order, you place the order. So, and then everything's coming back, I believe, Andy, into the system with regards to that. And I know a lot of people will go, oh, well, I might not want to go straight back into the system because I need an update, knowing that something's flagged and come back. But that's a trigger as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, like you say, that all lives within the same environment.
Yeah, to do that. So it's about that kind of seamlessness of being in your case management, which you're in all day long, I would imagine, if you've got one, and then kind of just utilising that extra service of that integration through the searches coming back in, invoicing, all of those things. And we work with Insight in tailoring that to however you might need as a client, because again, not one size fits all, right? So it's how that works with you, so we can bring that through.
And someone said, Kate, this might be a question better for you than me. So someone said, okay, so someone said, you're showing me a conveyancing sort of webinar, conveyancing environment. Can this be used for any kind of matrimonial searches? Yeah,
absolutely. So obviously, Andy can talk about, they cover all aspects of law, and the workflows are there with regards to that. So matrimonial obviously can work very closely with conveyancing because there's normally a property involved. Probate also works very closely with conveyancing. We do a whole slew of searches around that. And on the kind of the start screen, when you go into the link for index, that would be tailored. So we can even tailor that and remove conveyancing products and put on probate products or matrimonial products or whatever. So we can tailor that whole screen to whichever department within a law firm. So different teams within law firms could log in and have different options available to them. Because basically we are about streamlining that for you, that you're not looking at stuff that's not relevant to you or trying to figure out, should I be ordering that or not? Again, Andy, Insight and Index, whichever index office you're working with, would kind of have that discussion with you, and we'll tailor that and work with you on all of those things. Again, it's about streamlining, not creating problems. I think as well as I think just touching on kind of obviously the compliance aspect of it, it ties in really well into all aspects of compliance, because compliance is, AMLs are across everybody in all aspects of law. So it kind of ties in that as well. So it could kind of just support that question as well, Andy.
Excellent.
If I could, no other questions are coming through at the moment, but thank you for that one. And if there's any polls or anything like that, please do fill in the poll. I'll just read it out to you. It's biggest compliance risks and challenges. What do you currently consider to be the biggest compliant risk and challenge to your practice? AML, source of wealth and source of funds, and there is a difference. The CQS audit, STLT submissions, or all of the above. So it's just a really quick poll. If you could do that, it would really help us perhaps tailor further information back to you and look at that. I'll just quickly, because we've got a few minutes to go, just to describe kind of the difference between source of wealth and source of funds. So source of wealth is very much, have you got 50 grand sitting in your bank account because that's what you need to complete that transaction as your down payment. So typically lots of law firms will gather in the bank statements, they'll get a paralegal with a highlighter and they'll review that and go, has there been regular savings, how's the money come in? Because the CQS guidance and the core practice management strategy is looking at how has that money come in. So it's not just proof that there's 50 grand sitting in that account, it's actually how is that source of funds, so the source of wealth, come into that bank account. And I'm being a bit flip here, but as someone just sold a load of drugs, can you see the actual journey of that money into that account? And that's really where it bears from. Have they sold a house? Have they sold a car? Have they been gifted it? Have they got a regular savings that's been coming in, or they've transferred it from a building society account, or they've sold stocks and shares? That is what the core practice management standard says that you have to be showing, is that full journey of source of wealth. There's a really, really simple search out there that does it all for you. And actually what a lot of clients, some are on the call today, I can see, have said in using that product is that actually that uncomfortableness where you may be asking that of a client, can you bring in your bank statements or send them to me? Actually, it kind of separates you from that, because it's a link that's sent out to them and they photograph all the information. It's a very, very clever app that then essentially compiles all that information back. It color codes it, gives you a big tick going, yes, it's affordability. They can afford it, and there's 50 grand in there. It then breaks it down into pie charts or bar graphs that kind of say, yeah, 10 grand of that 50 grand was savings, and we can color code all of the bank statements into that so you can see it. Another one is, you know, yes, they sold a car, whatever it is, and it shows that process coming through. That is the level of detail that's required. We're not making that up at Index. Andy's not making that up. That is the Law Society and their core practice management standards. Whether you are CQS approved or not, if you're a licensed conveyancer, it's the same route, because it stems from the framework. So it's the framework that is governing what you should be doing. So, so we're a few minutes early, but Andy, I don't know if you have anything else to wrap up, but hopefully that's helpful, just explaining source of wealth to source of funds.
Yeah, no, Kate, no, I'm happy. Yeah, thanks so much for joining me.
Okay, thanks everybody, and we'll be sending out a copy of this.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. Bye-bye, take care.
Bye-bye.